Widdz here, and in today's video I have actually 4 PvP builds for you guys to prepare you for the conflict experience event that is currently going on. Each build have a dedicated build video, so I won't go super in depth for each video. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that my partner MyProtein have 42% off today with code widdz. So in case you need to stock up on some protein bars, protein powder, workout clothes, vitamins and all that, then make sure you click the link in the description and use code widdz. We're gonna start off with the most popular build I think right now, and actually the one that I think is the best and kind of go-to build right now, which is Tanky Armor Regen Bighorn build. So we are gonna be using Bighorn. You can get this one from Legendary Missions or Legendary Summit. You wanna get damage to target out of cover there. And then we have the talent. Basically, in short, the Bighorn is just a headshot machine. You hit the headshots and you get 6% headshot damage, and this stacks up to 25. And you just, do so much headshot damage with it. You can see the mods as well for the headshot damage scope. Really good gun. I guess a cool thing with it that I never use in PvP is that normally it's an AR, right? But if you scope in, it turns into a rifle. In terms of secondary, when it comes to PvP, I prefer to have a finisher, and Orbit comes with perfect finisher. This gets you 35 critical hit chance and 40 critical hit damage, which is pretty big when you don't have any crit chance on the build. You can get this from skills pretty easy, and then you swap to Bighorn. Then if we take a look at the actual gear pieces, we are going to be using Kafari's insanely good mask when it comes to PvP. It will give you damage, it will give you a perch, it will give you a healing cloud, basically everything you need. So when you take damage, you get a stack, and that stack is worth 1.5 weapon damage, and this stacks up to 30. And when you get 30 stacks, then it will trigger a purge, which will remove all stacks and status effects, and then on top of that drop a healing cloud on the floor, which restores 5% of max armor for 10 seconds, and this works for you and your allies. Then we combine that with Matador, which is a named Walker in Harris that got perfect adrenaline rush. Super good, especially if you can be close to 3 enemies, because then you will get the max bonus armor. And the perfect version have 23% instead of 20, giving you 9% extra bonus armor when you have max stacks, right? So really good. When it comes to stats priority, we are gonna run 6 blues, and then headshot damage as a priority, and then second priority will be hazard protection. You can, however, swap hazard protection for armor regen, but you don't really get that much value. So hazard protection, you get that, and then you have a pretty much anti-bullshit build for the current bullshit that goes on in PvP. Looking at the chest piece, we are using a Bellstone, and that gives us 1% armor regen. And then I combine this with Unbreakable, especially for conflict. For Dark Zone though, I would recommend to use the named piece Everyday Carrier that comes with Perfect Efficient, which is actually super good. You can even make this work in conflict depending on your RNG, if you get to start with 2 armor kits, and it makes you be able to spam the armor kits basically. And then lastly, we are using 3 pieces of Hillagard for that 2% armor regen and total armor, and also we get some health on top of that. You can see some of my pieces are actually not hazard, which I need to fix. But you want to have hazard on every piece. You could go the armor regen route, but I don't think that's worth it. It will not give you too much, and you will have issues with all the skills going on. Talking about skills, I run this with Defender Drone and then with Pulse. Other ones you can use as well is Decoy, especially for Dark Zone. That is pretty nice. But those are usually the skills I like to run with this. I guess you could also use like a chem launcher. Yes, it's only 2 seconds, but if people are moving a lot, you will get them stuck and get a little bit of time to hit them. And I guess even the shield will be tier 6, but yeah. In terms of specialization, I recommend Firewall. You get the armor kit that heals 200% health and armor over time, which is really neat. And that is one of the biggest reasons for this. Moving on to the next build, it's gonna be a one-shot sniper build. We are using the Mantis sniper here because it have the highest damage for snipers in terms of PvP. Get damage to target out of cover. And the reason this one hits so hard is because this talent right here, I think, is working in PvP. So you get 50% amp damage on headshots. So extremely good sniper and definitely the go-to for PvP, unless you want to do some determined glass cannon stuff, but that's not what I'm gonna be covering here. As a secondary, use any SMG, shotgun, AR, whatever you want. Then with this build, I like to use Ninja Bike. I can quickly show you how you can run it with Vigilance as well, but the playstyle I play, Vigilance doesn't make any sense for me. So I use Ninja Bike because it gives you +1 in gear set and brand set, and Sniper have a lot of good brand sets and gear sets for it to make sense. Stats prior will be 6 red cores, and then headshot damage as a #1 attribute, and then secondary will be weapon handling. Starting with the chest piece, we are using unnamed Araldi that gives you marksman rifle damage and headshot damage, and it comes with perfect focus, which gives you 6% instead of 5% per second, and it stacks up to 60%. And this only works with an 8x scope or higher, but that's not the issue because, I mean, we are using Mantis. And if you charge it up, you will get a lot of damage. Usually, I don't really charge it up to full though, but if you do, you can see the damage right here, 15.7 million. We shoot quick. If we shoot quick, okay, we gotta lose it first. If we shoot quick, it's like around 10. If you charge it just a little bit, you get around 11. So even if you don't charge it too much, you will get a decent amount of extra damage. Worth to note, you can zoom out and zoom back in and you will still keep focus. You can also reload. As long as you hold right click, you will keep focus up and charge it up. So those are some neat tips. Then we're also going to be using Hasberg for the headshot damage and marksman rifle damage. Really, really good brand set. And then lastly, we are using 3 pieces of hotshot for marksman rifle damage and weapon handling 30%, which is just crazy. And then 30% headshot damage. Extremely good build, which we pair with, especially for, which I like to pair with tactician drone that comes from the sharpshooter tree. Especially for conflict, because pulse will have like a 2-minute cooldown, and this works really well. You use the skill, you will see the red lines. As long as you use it, put it up in the air, see it pulses, and you see the red lines as well. So it's pretty easy to target people. It's pretty easy to locate the people. I like to run it with pulse as well, even though it's 2-minute cooldown. 100% in Dark Zone you will run pulse though, because it got the 3-second cooldown. I think that doesn't make sense, but it got really short cooldown in Dark Zone. You can use decoy in Dark Zone, pretty good. You can use smart cover, even revive hive if you play long, and even revive hive if you play super far away. You can probably get the revive off with that. Quickly looking at the specialization, sharpshooter for the tactician drone. You get the 1 in the head for extra headshot damage. You also have the breath control for 15% reduced recall and reacquisition of targets. Make sure you get the sniper damage in the tree as well. And when you sit in armor, you do gain extra armor as well. And you get some ammo sitting in cover as well. Moving on to the next build, it's gonna be another AR build actually, but this one will be more damage and hybrid focused compared to the tank one. So we are gonna be using Capacitator, really good AR that comes with damage to armor, which usually, you know, ARs comes with health damage, but this one have damage to armor, meaning you can get both damage to armor and damage to target out of cover, which is just insane. The talent itself on it, I'm not gonna pay attention to the skill damage because I don't play skills that do damage, but it does give you extra skill damage, so it works well with using skills that do damage. But the most important thing here, for me at least, is that you get 7.5% extra weapon damage for skill tier, which makes the stats per be a bit different because you can put a lot of it into skill tier and still get damage. This is how I run it though, with 1 red, 3 blues, and 4 skill tiers, actually 6. You could, however, put more into red and less into skill tier. But we can get back to that after we go through the build though. This build will be using Ninja Bike, which in this case is pretty damn good because all of these core attributes are actually valuable because the way we play it. Skill tier giving us more damage, weapon damage giving us more weapon damage of course, and armor giving us more armor, right? So all of them are good. In terms of stats priority, this one is critical hit chance and critical hit damage focused, meaning we're gonna prioritize crit on every single piece and try to have like a 1 to 2 critical hit chance to critical hit damage ratio, meaning like 50% crit chance, then you should have around 100% critical hit damage. Also keep in mind for conflict that you don't get the 10% crit chance from the watch, which means you probably have to go 10% more crit chance than you were expecting. Ninja Bike though, it adds +1 to gear sets and +1 to brand sets, meaning we can use the named Picaro holster, which will give us skill haste, but the second brand set bonus is +1 skill tier, and then I also choose to go skill tier on the holster. This piece alone now gives us 2 skill tier, and on top of that, the unique thing with Picaro is that it gives 10% weapon damage. Used to be 15, but they nerfed it to 10. Still, I would say the Ninja Bike and Picaro combo is pretty damn good for everything it gets you. And then I like to combine this with Walker and Harris for that weapon damage and damage to armor, and then critical hit chance and critical hit damage on the piece. This one you can swap around a bit depending on how you want to play it. You could go like Hilla Guard, maybe Chill Out Mask. This piece is kind of up to you. Lastly though, we are using 3 pieces of Umbra for the 15% critical hit chance, reload speed, and the 4 piece giving us both critical hit damage and rate of fire, and also armor regen when you sit in cover. So quickly how this works. When you sit in cover, you will charge up the RPM and critical hit damage buff. If you shoot in cover, you won't get the buff, but as soon as you go out of cover, you will get the crit and the rate of fire. When you are outside of cover running around, you will charge up the second buff. And the second buff, when you go into cover, you will charge up the buff, but also get the armor regen, as you can see. So you're healing pretty well. So this is how the build looks like. But as I said, probably what I would like to do is to actually take some of the skill tier rolls, let's say these 3 pieces that I have skill tier on, and maybe roll red instead. Meaning I would have less skill tier, but more into pure weapon damage. However though, now when we're gonna go through the skills, you're gonna realize that the skill tier is actually pretty good. I like to combine this with Defender Drone because it gives you damage reduction. Even though it's lower in PvP, it will give you 33.8%, which is pretty damn good. On top of that, with the Brooklyn, we did get the smart cover, and the fortified in particular is really nice because when you go into cover, you get bonus armor, and you can see that bonus armor is really fat. And you can also see I healed up as well. So when you go into cover, if you're not full HP, you will be healing up with the Umbra set. On top of that, you have the bonus armor. And if you're fighting, you can go out of bonus armor and go in. So let's say you're sitting in here, you're healing through Umbra, and you have the bonus armor. The bonus armor goes down to, let's say, 5%. You go out of the bonus armor, you go out of the smart cover, go back in, you have the smart cover once again. So you can really go in and out from the bonus. So you can really go in and out from the smart cover and just kind of abuse that. However though, it is pretty easy to counter this because they can just destroy the smart cover by shooting that or EMP it. But if you place it well, they will have a harder time to do it. One downside though is that Pestilence is really meta right now, and Pestilence debuff will go to skill, so it will randomly hit this one eventually and just destroy the smart cover. So that makes it a bit worse. But you can use other skills, such as, I mean, you can use Stick EMP for example. You can use, I guess, the damage one, Seeker Mine and all that stuff, because I mean you have 6 skill tier, so it should be pretty good. Then we're gonna run Technician, mainly because it gives us 1 skill tier, which equals to 7.5% weapon damage. And then make sure you get AR damage as well. Then we have the last build, which is gonna be a pistol build that actually have the capability to one-shot, depending on what the amount of cores you choose. I would not recommend that though, but yeah, we will get to that later. But this one is using Regulus, You get this one from the Iron Horse raid. I do have a video on my channel how to get it, so just click the description and you can check that out, which will take you around 2 to 3 weeks. Make sure you get damage to target out of cover. We take a look at the actual talent. It will give you a AoE explosion that deals 400 weapon damage and also apply bleed, which is really good. And yeah, it's pretty hard to get in PvP though, because they have to be knocked, like being on the floor, and then you shoot them in the head. And a lot of times it just bugs. Even though you hit them in the head, it just doesn't connect. But when you get it triggered on the floor, you will do insane damage and just one-shot the other people. We take a look at the actual build. I'm using the new brand set that came with the Brooklyn DLC called Imminence. So 5% weapon damage and 60% pistol damage, making this build even better than it used to be because of this brand set. So 3 pieces of that. Stats priority. I like to play this with around 4 blues. You can play even 6 blues, or you can play maybe 3 or 2 blues. It's kind of up to you. But 4 blues seems to be working pretty fine for me. If you want to go for the one-shot capabilities, of course you would go 6 red. And then in terms of attributes, you want to go headshot damage as prior number 1, and then weapon handling as number 2 is how I go. We have the backpack. Vigilance is just the go-to choice here. 25% amp damage. You do lose it if you take damage though, but if you have some blues and you combine it with a big shield, then if they hit the shield, you will not lose vigilance. Imminence as well. I like to run Unbreakable. If you want to go for the biggest damage, then you should go with Glass Cannon, which gives you 25% amp damage and you take 50% more. But if you're going that route, it might be worth to go with the named one from Providence that gives you 30% amp damage. And you do take 60% more damage though. Wouldn't really recommend that build, but it can be fun if you're hitting your shots and all. You can deal like 1.5, 1.6 million yourself, which is enough to one-shot a lot of people in conflict. But then moving on to the next piece, which is the name, the H-Mask called Punch Drunk, giving you 20 pistol damage from the brand set and then 20 headshot damage as a minor attribute instead of 10, which is really good, which is perfect for this build. Then we have the gloves, which are also named gloves, and those are the Petrov Contractor gloves, giving you 10% LMG damage, which we don't care about in this case. But what we do care about is headshot damage, and of course getting that 8% damage to armor, which makes the damage insane. Keep in mind, since we are playing a headshot focused build, we don't really care about losing attributes here, since the weapon handling won't really give us damage, and we're not focused on crit. Following the same theme, we got Foxperry knee pads here, which gives you 10% rifle damage, which won't give us anything there, but it does give you 8% damage to target out of cover, and then combine that with headshot damage. And that is the build I'm using. Then I combine this with the Bulwark Shield. Since I have 4 blues, it is at tier 5, mainly because we also have Technician spec, which we can check through later. And then the second skill, you can use it with Riot Foam. It will foam them around 2.2 seconds, depending on their hazard. It can be nice, but I also feel like it sometimes screw with me. But yeah, if they run around a lot, you can use that to get at least one shot off pretty easy. Other than that, I guess you could do Defender Drone or Pulse, depending on what content you play. Decoy as well. And then lastly, Specialization. I like to run this with Technician just to get another skill tier for the shield. But you can honestly run whatever you want. One reason as well that I run it is because the Specialization weapon damage, I can have it on pistol, because Firewall and Gunner, I have all the other guns there. You could also, I guess, use Artificer Hive for the shield. I haven't tried it though, but that might work. But yeah, those are my 4 go-to PvP builds right now that I will be using in the Conflict Experience event going on right now. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest fan of PvP. I feel like PvP is getting worse every single patch, and I think PvP in Division 2 never have been good. But I will be checking it out during this Conflict event. But I should be doing some Conflict right now for the Experience event. And I'm also doing a subathon right now on twitch.tv/widdz and also kick.com/widdz, kick being ad-free. Twitch should be having drops though for the Payday event. So yeah, make sure you tune in and say hi. And I will see you guys either live on the subathon or on my next YouTube video tomorrow.